Over the past year, I have tested every new gen Toyota trucks for a whole week. I didn't just drive them around, I dissected them on my lift, took detailed measurements, and of course, I wheeled them off-road. I mean, really off-road. The reason why I spent so much effort was because I need to decide which one to buy. And that truck will be the next chapter for this channel.
After over a year of testing and planning, finally, I got this, a 2007 second gen Tundra. So why on earth did I get a 17-year-old Tundra in 2024? Well, because this is not just any regular old Tundra. This one has two extremely rare features that make it truly one of a kind. But before I show you more, let me first explain why I didn't choose any of the new generation.
By the end of this video, I guaranteed you will fall in love with my new truck. Okay, let's get started. The third gen Tundra was actually the first press vehicle I ever reviewed, so it had a special place in my heart. But the major turndown for me was its off-road fundamentals. On paper, the new Tundra comes with a lot more off-road features than the second gen. But when I actually check out the mechanical stuff underneath, I found a lot of design trade-offs that sacrifice off-road performance to prioritize comfort and handling. Don't get me wrong, the new Tundra is, in my opinion, a much better overland platform. But for me, technical wheeling is important. So the new Tundra wasn't a good fit. I went over all the pros and cons in these videos. I will link them in the description below. Now, the 4th gen Tacoma is a different story. I was so close to buying one. One of my favorite mechanical changes is that the transfer case is now tucked higher. Toyota also got rid of this low-hanging exhaust crossover. Barely clears. Yeah, cleared. As a result, every new Tacoma now has a flat belly. For the off-road trims, the CV axles were upgraded to higher angle double offset inner joints. The updated multi-terrain monitor, multi-terrain select, and crawl control were all a giant leap forward.
Go. It's stuck. It's not moving.
And of course, the most exciting feature to me was the brand new stabilizer disconnect mechanism, SDM. I have been wanting a true sway bar disconnect on Toyotas for over a decade. But here is where things fell apart for me. To maximize the utility of a pickup truck, like building a camper, I wanted an extra cab with 6-foot bed, which is the iconic configuration of Toyota trucks.
Check out that 4x4. That is hot.
Okay.
But in 2024, you can only get this configuration on the lower trims with the leaf springs. So I don't get any of those new off-road features. To get those features, I need a TRD off-road or above. But those only come in double cab. When paired with the 6-foot bed, it pushes the wheelbase to a stupid 145 inches.
Bro, that's literally a Tundra. No way I'll take that off-road.
Unwilling to settle for a non-ideal cab configuration, I decided to move on. Then, I fall in love with the GX550. The new GX has all the good updates like the new Tacoma. But instead of SDM, the GX has EKDSS, which is a far more advanced system. The only other vehicle that has this is the Land Cruiser 300 series, which we can't buy in North America. So for us, the GX550 Overtrail represent the most advanced 4x4 Toyota offers. Well, except for one critical issue. Originally, I planned to film the GX through these mildly rocky trails, which I have taken many stock vehicles through. But the GX from overhang was way too long to make it through without damage. So we actually had to switch to a different location at the last minute. Ironically, what made the overhang so long was exactly the EKDSS, because it lived in front of the axle. The SDM on the Tacoma lives behind the axle, so it can have a much shorter nose. Despite how much I appreciate the EKDSS, I will actually get the SDM just to have a better approach angle. But that wasn't an option on the GX. But wait a minute, isn't that the new Land Cruiser? In fact, we were able to take the 250 series through exactly those trails we couldn't with the GX550. So why didn't I buy the new Land Cruiser? Before I dive into that, I want to thank Onyx Off-Road for sponsoring my channel. Onyx Maps is what I use to plan and navigate all my off-road trips. When we had to switch locations for the new GX, I wasn't super familiar with the new place. But fortunately, Onyx Off-Road had very detailed and most up-to-date trail difficulties. Many even came with photos. So I knew exactly what I'll get myself into. My friend Cong from 4-Wheel Drive is Life channel was also able to share a list of his favorite spots within the Onyx apps. Thanks to them, I could easily navigate my way without stressing out about damaging the press vehicle.
Oh my god!
If you also want to make the best out of your off-road trips, give Onyx Off-Road a try. You can use code TINKERER or the link in description for 20% off your first year of membership. I would like to thank Onyx Off-Road for supporting my channel. Now, let's get back to the new Land Cruiser. There were more than one thing I didn't like, which I'll go over in a future video. But one thing that stood out was, this is a little thin. This is like what, 2mm?
Not even.
Yeah, 2mm. What the hell, man?
Because the lower shock mount is thicker than the lower control arm mount. It looks like it, right?
It does look thicker. Is that 3? This is 3.
Yeah.
1mm.
Yeah, this is what the hell, man? This is so thin.
It probably doesn't get hit a lot.
I think it will.
Heck yeah, that's the lowest hanging fruit, man.
Now, let's compare it to the last Land Cruiser in the United States, the 200 series. Wait, this is factory?
Yeah.
Holy shit! What the hell?
That's thick.
That is thick. Oh my god!
6?
6.3.
Wow.
How about this? 4mm. Oh my god, that's a big difference.
It is.
Everything was literally double the thickness, which equals 8 times the strength in bending. And yes, I get it. The new 250 series is technically the Land Cruiser Prado, which is the light-duty version. So let's compare it to the last gen Prado 150. Yeah, 3.4, 3.5 mils, huh? This looks even thicker.
The bottom shock mount?
Alright, can you read? Yep.
4.1.
4.1?
Wow.
So everything is 1mm thicker.
On the rear end of the 460.
Right. What the hell? Maybe they use a high strength steel for weight saving?
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right?
And remember, the new Prado grew in size. It is now as big as the 200 series. So I didn't expect things to get even thinner. This was actually a common theme for the entire TNGA-F platform. Yes, the main frame rail is beefier, which is good, but many brackets and accessories, the stuff off-roaders actually bent, got thinner. Another example is the tie rod for steering. At the thinnest part, the new tie rod is also thinner than the previous gen, which was already a common weak link. Now, the base of the new tie rod is thicker, so the overall buckling strength may not be worse. But having this level of cutthroat weight reduction just doesn't feel right for a 4x4. Now, let's see the Land Cruiser's tie rod. The real Land Cruiser. Oh my god!
What tie rod's that from?
That's the FJ. So the GX is even thinner than this.
Oh, no kidding.
So it's a lot thinner than that. Shit. 25.
Pretty beefy.
Oh my god. For a period of time, I actually considered getting a 200 series. But here's the thing. I have had an SUV for over 10 years. For this new build, I really wanted a pickup truck to experience something different. This is where the second gen Tundra came in, because it has the same beefy chassis as the 200 series. But it started at a whopping 146-inch wheelbase. So, same issue as the new Tacoma. Man, it felt like my perfect truck didn't exist.
Unless I got one of these. A regular cab, short bed. When I say regular cab, it's basically an extra cab for Tacoma. There's still a decent amount of room behind the seats for gears or just to lay back. And when I say short bed, it's actually 6.5 feet, which is longer than a long bed for Tacoma.
And the crazy part is, the wheelbase is 126.8, which is 0.6 inch shorter than a short bed 3rd gen Tacoma, and a whopping 5.1 inches shorter than a short bed 4th gen. Now, if we compare the overall length, this Tundra is actually 2 inches shorter bumper to bumper. Isn't that just wild? The RCSB configuration is the first extremely rare feature of this Tundra. It was only produced from 2007 to 2013 at a very low percentage. Finding an RCSB in decent shape was already a major challenge. But I decided to want another extremely rare feature.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood.
This is the legendary 4.7-liter 2UZ FE. The 2UZ was first introduced in the 1998 Land Cruiser 100 series.
The all-new Land Cruiser, the most powerful Land Cruiser ever built, king off the road.
And the first gen Tundra.
Tundra, with more standard V8 torque than any other full-size pickup, and now with more value.
It was carried over to the second gen only from 07 to 09. It was the 1 million mile Tundra engine, one of the last cast iron block V8s, and a staple of old school Toyota reliability.
Nevertheless, nothing comes without a trade-off. To put it into perspective, this 2.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder, not even the iForce Max, produced more horsepower and torque than the 2UZ.
And it wasn't just at peak output. It was across the entire power band. Only at below 1500 RPM, the V8 has a slight edge in low-end torque. But bro, we are comparing it to an engine that's literally half the size. If we compare it to the new Tundra's 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, then there is absolutely zero competition. Well, except...
Some Toyota owners will be getting a brand new engine. This comes after Toyota recalled over 100,000 Tundra pickups as well as Lexus SUVs last month. The company says debris from manufacturing could have been left inside the engine. That may cause it to not run as good.
For better or worse, technology has advanced so much in the past 20 years. So did the type of trucks people want.
They don't make them like this anymore. That's why in 2024, I specifically chose a chassis from 1 generation ago and the powertrain from 2 generations ago. This is a living time capsule that will last 1 million miles.
And it's more than just nostalgia and reliability. Remember, I really like the new gen trucks having a flat belly and better CV axles? Well, guess what? The second gen Tundra was already like that in 2007. Oh, remember how I criticized the front overhang of the new GX? Well, the front overhang of my Tundra is 3 inches shorter. In fact, the second gen Tundra has a shorter front overhang than any other vehicle mentioned in this video. Yes, including the Tacoma. And compared to the new Tacoma, the truck I almost bought, my Tundra has a wider long travel front suspension and a much beefier steering. Paired with the shorter wheelbase and the 1 million mile engine,
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Except it wasn't. You see, this is not how this truck looked like when I first bought it. This was how it looked like.
it was on 22-inch negative offset bro truck wheels. It also had a 3-inch spacer lift and a 1-inch diff drop. Basically, all the bad bro truck mods we went over in my previous video. So the first step of my build is to de-bro this truck, and I will show you exactly why these are a bad idea. But I have to give credit where credit is due. My bro took extremely good care of this truck. It was a freaking miracle that a 17-year-old Toyota who spent its entire life in the Northeast Rust Belt could still look like this. To carry on this legacy, I have big plans for this build. Everything I do must have a clear purpose, and I will show you the exact why and how.
This is the next chapter for Tinker's adventure, so subscribe and stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.